Flatout. Every time this game crosses my mind, it makes me think of America. Seriously, this is probably the most America game I've ever played without being all America about it, if that makes any sense. Just to sum it up, it is a racing game where you are driving derby cars. A lot of people remember the gimmick of having your driver fly out the windshield when you crash. But is this game more than just a ragdoll gimmick? Well, let's find out. Now, the first thing to do is to create a profile and select your difficulty, as well as adjust the controls and some other miscellaneous things that may or may not make you feel special. While you can start in a single event, it is recommended to start with the career mode since you will be spending most of your time there. You start off with 4,000 to buy one of 5 cars, as well as choose its color. Here you get a glimpse of not only what cars your opponents will use, but how much detail is actually put into the vehicles. It's pretty good stuff for 2004. And you're off to the races, literally. You race against 7 other opponents accompanied by an awesome soundtrack. One thing you'll notice as soon as you're driving is how the cars handle. There is a lot of weight with each of the cars, and the gameplay is more like a simulation than an arcadic racer. This to me is a stark contrast compared to Flatout 2, as the sequel is much more arcadic in terms of the handling. It's not to say one style is better than the other, but the two games have a much different feel to each other, so it's kind of personal preference which one you prefer. You'll be racing on a variety of terrain types, from the easy to maneuver asphalt to the slippery conditions of snow. Each terrain has its own feel, so getting used to it is just half the battle for conquering a track. So you might have noticed that there's no background music for this review, and that is because the music in this game are actually licensed tracks, so I can get a copyright claim on this video. Either way, the music is pretty good in this game. It's pretty much punk rock, and it sounds awesome as it really fits the atmosphere of the game. And America. You will really feel the effects of the terrain, especially on the ice levels. If you do not properly brake, you will lose control, and you might lose the race. Now, I mentioned how your driver flying out the windshield was a big selling point for the game. While the collisions are nothing short of awesome, your driver flying out the windshield happens way too often. I understand if you are in a head-on collision, but sometimes my guy would fly out when hitting the ground after flying in the air from a high altitude. I mean, what the hell? Plus, the ragdoll physics of the driver look extremely outdated. The AI in this game is pretty realistic. Instead of driving on a straight line like most other racing games, it actually reacts to the environment around it. The computer drivers fight against other computers and are prone to make mistakes, so it doesn't feel like the game is out to get you, aka Mario Kart on 150cc. The career mode consists of a bunch of normal races along with some bonus events. These bonus events range from the always popular Destruction Derby to minigames that involve launching your character out of his car. The Destruction Derby really highlights the awesome physics engine found in this game, and it's one of the more enjoyable minigames in my opinion. The other events, however, are just gimmicky as hell, like this one where you have to launch your driver as high as possible with the correct angle. It's not necessarily bad, it's just kind of forgettable in the grand scheme of the game, which is weird considering these minigames were always in the commercials. In the career mode, there are upgrades that you can purchase. My main gripe with these upgrades though is that there's no indicator on how much something is being improved. This was fixed in the sequel, however, where you will see a visual of your attributes increase or decrease depending on the parts you buy. So if you increase the body, the weight will increase, but you don't know that in this game. In the second one, you'll see the bar go up or down depending on what you buy, but this one you really don't. As you progress through the game, you will unlock the silver event, and eventually the gold. With new challenges come along new cars, so it really keeps you playing to see what new cars will be available for you. But I will have to warn you, this game spikes in difficulty with each new cup unlocked. Eventually, you'll have to be perfect if you want to be in first place, which, considering the physics engine and the terrain type, this is pretty much impossible. In addition, races get longer and you need to make sure you don't soak up too much damage, or else your car will start driving like a drunk chicken without its legs. I haven't talked about track design too much, but it's fairly decent. My main gripe is that there's a lack of tracks and they begin to repeat throughout the game. Plus, there's really no custom race for you to do. You just do the events over again when racing outside of the career mode. It kind of feels like the game lacks content. That's honestly all I have to say about this game. Heavier cars are much better than lighter cars in every way, which does annoy me. I prefer the second one just because it's a bit more archaic than this one, and it's a much more refined title. The original is still pretty good, however. I can't really highly recommend it, but I can definitely give it a recommendation. It's been a tough few weeks, but I hope to continue to bring more and better content to this channel. I thank you guys for supporting me throughout the years, and this is Pow3rh0use, signing off.